So I want to make just a shorter update video, an update transit video on this lunar eclipse, because the last video was fine. I mean, I do think, the last video was okay. It was relevant points as I see it, absolutely. But there's another layer here that's quite important to acknowledge about this eclipse. And I think one of the major points is that eclipses, sometimes we get a little nervous or afraid or scared. And this, again, comes from that Babylonian tradition where people are like, hey, send a replacement king, eclipses are coming, kind of thing. And, that's good and well. I've read enough charts and I've seen enough charts to know that eclipses can do very powerfully positive things. And I think this is the other word I like, is accelerator. The eclipse or the eclipses and the season of eclipses is a time of acceleration. They're accelerators, the eclipses, in terms of just bringing us closer into why we're here and what we're here to do and be. And sometimes that can be quite positive. For example, eclipses in the 5th, a baby emerges, a maybe unexpected child. Eclipses in the 7th, I see people all the time maybe meeting a partner, or something arises with a partnership that's quite important and useful and powerful. So there's this voice to the kind of positive accelerations that eclipses can bring. Very important to acknowledge, because we don't ever want to fearmonger as astrologers. I mean, there's no reason to. Like, life is a beautiful gift. The divine is everywhere and every moment. The beauty of life is evident. And I know some people in the last video were like, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in God. Okay, well, that's fine. You don't need to believe in God to understand what we're speaking to. It's just a word. We're talking about life, the power of life, the potency of life, the mystery of life. Those things don't require a belief in God. I think often we get hung up in terminology when, and this is great to do with your astrology, like, what is the terminology of the symbol set? Go a layer below. What is the meaning of those terms at that initial layer? Rephrase and redefine at a secondary layer, then go to a tertiary layer. Language is beautiful because it's like knots of depth that we can untangle and find meaning and new meaning with our language. And we can do that with astrology or any spiritual terminology. So you don't like God? Boom, cast it out. You don't like divinity? Boom, cast it out. And think about just life, the beauty of life, the consciousness, and how potent and powerful that is. I think that's objectively true, that, there's a kind of beauty to the human form and to the human mind. Beautiful Mind, right? That movie with Russell Crowe about John Nash. I think this is his name, the genius mathematician, John Nash. And that brings me to this next topic. I want to come into this chart. It's actually quite a powerful chart, and it relates to Venus. It relates to Venus in Pisces, the sign of its exaltation, ruling by domicile this eclipse. And Saturn rules Libra by exaltation. So the domicile ruler of Libra and the exaltation ruler of Libra are both in Pisces. And Venus, while in Pisces, is exalted and risen up. And so one major theme of this eclipse moment for us that we must contemplate, because this is what the symbols invoke, is the beauty of life itself and the beauty of Venus, and the planet Venus being central to this moment in time. What is Venus? Love, togetherness, adornment, beautification. It's the way that we bring people together to celebrate that which is beautiful, singing together. I've been thinking a lot about that recently, watching some of the kirtan practitioners I'm into as they sing their chants to God and the joyful chants to celebrate life. I've been fortunate enough to be in several settings, retreat and otherwise, where we sing these divine hymns together in a group, and there's nothing quite like it. It really does change the consciousness and change the mentality and open the heart, and it's bodily and experiential in the body. These aren't linguistic accelerations as much as just the movement of the unseen self as it can connect in group settings to this musical shared song that's being sung. So it's perfect for Venus and Pisces, because those are often cathartic and sometimes moments of release as we sing together. And it doesn't have to be music that you can do. I mean, I was out here dancing recently this weekend. I don't do it a lot, but there's nothing like being in a club and you've got those DJs and you can just release onto the dance floor. And it's very much a non-verbal, experiential, but group experience of celebration of life itself. Again, if you don't want to use divine or God, excise it and just celebrate life and the things that our bodies can do and how we can just move with the rhythm and the flow of music and life itself. This is Venus in Pisces. This is what Venus can do in Pisces. And what I'm doing here again is just, what's the nature of Venus? What does it mean when Venus has powers? And we can then layer that tonality over this lunar eclipse moment. Remember, lunar eclipse is 25 March 2024. And that is going to be in about 5 days here. Hopefully I'll have this out 2 or 3 days before. And then Venus, of course, in between eclipses will leave Pisces. And so this might be an ode to Venus. You might think about this eclipse moment as things accelerate for the Venusian better. We accelerate into beauty, and I think that's what I'm going to title this video, The Acceleration of Beauty, and how this eclipse moment can pull us or push us or, have us gravitating towards the wonderment of life, the celebration of life, with the unity of the musical and the beautification of ourselves and our reality and the people around us. So look for that as a theme. So you can juxtapose this with the word I used in the last video, which was corruption, which I still like for eclipses, because they do make things strange, and things kind of have to be handled strangely in terms of giving deference to the idea that things might get intense and kind of unwieldy. At the same time, we can kind of ride the acceleration vibe of eclipses and understand that, life is kind of cool when it's a little bit out of control and we're just kind of rolling with things as they emerge. I mean, that's in itself an art, the art of life. Right now we're back to Venus, and it's quite a beautiful thing to be a part of if you've ever done a road trip with no plan. Some of you might not understand that if you're a little bit more rigid with your life choices, but you just get in a car, pack a bag, and just drive. In America, where I'm from, that's what we do. We crisscross the country in buses and cars. A lot of us as a kind of a rite of passage. Being nobody, going nowhere. That's the title of a Buddhist book. I forgot the name of the nun, I think, that wrote that. I've always liked that idea. Or Nowhere Man, the John Lennon song when he was with the Beatles. This idea of just releasing into the beauty of it. It's kind of Kerouacian. You're just getting on that road and out and experiencing the expanse of life and letting the divine or the inspiration, again, Venus and Pisces, because it means the spirit, to be inspired, to be filled with spirit. And then we are see life for what it is, which is beautiful and a gift. And then we can create from a place of inspiration. We go places, we're inspired to do things. So look for some inspiration here in this eclipse moment.
Sometimes I can feel it coming, like a moving tide.
What I was going to say though is that Venus, then we leave this Piscean washing through the beauty of the Piscean Venus, and we then enter this fire Venus, where Venus might not have the time or the space to fully release into this unrestrained, inspired movement. And instead we get a Venus that has to deal with the heat of the circumstances around it and act fast and not really get much rest. And so that entry of Venus, let me get that date. So you can see here, Venus will enter Aries on 5 April and will remain in Aries until 29 April. And that's a hotter Venus, so in between eclipses, this land between eclipses, as we're riding these eclipse waves, these accelerations, dealing with our fate as it's emerged and dealing with, these new realities that eclipses can bring. We get Venus entering the heat of Aries, and then Venus will be there for that solar eclipse on the 8th of April. So it's over then, this idea of this Venusian exaltation. And I think Saturn with Venus actually is a beautiful thing. I think the thing is, Saturn has to rely on Venus. Saturn gives over to Venus. So it's really about Venus, not about Saturn. Saturn is there trying to be cleansed, and it's having to lighten up, and it has been having to lighten up in Pisces in this very creative mix, Saturn and Pisces, since March 2023. I think with Venus there, it's almost like Saturn has been preparing the ground for this Venusian moment, and Venus can work with Saturn, and maybe some of this creative work we're doing has a little bit more depth and power for the long term. So anyhow, enjoy the beauty that's emerging in your life right here with this lunar eclipse on 25 March. And don't ever let someone tell you that the gamut of astrological signification for any symbol set, I don't care if it is, Moon, Saturn, and Scorpio or something like this, there's always some kind of part of the gamut of delineation that has value and is a beautiful expression of life and the divine. The divine is everything in my view. And so even symbols that imply tough things, there's always a reason why tough things are part of our existence. For example, we have more humility, more empathy, more ability to love others because we've seen pain, for example. That's one thing that only certain placements get access to symbolically. Take care out there. Enjoy your lunar eclipse. Let it be as beautiful as it can be, and I hope you have a wonderful one. More videos soon. Talk soon. Peace. Take care.